In the first 3 episodes of Season 5, we've found clues, suspects, and red herrings. More importantly, we've met the killer. We got this feedback from a member of the Clue crew, Lala Teak, who asked, in what episodes of previous seasons did we meet the killer? Were they introduced in the first episode of the season to give us more time, or later? Well, we do not see Jan in the first episode of Season 1. We hear her bassoon. Pretty sure we're told later that that was actually a recording of her bassoon, but Jan didn't appear on camera in an episode until episode 3. Poppy does appear in the first episode of season 2, though it's likely Mabel is daydreaming of the Cinta Canning podcast trio. Donna and Cliff appear in the first episode of season 3. Marshall is introduced in the first episode of season 4. During the golden age of detective fiction, writer Ronald Knox created his 10 commandments. Number 1 commandment: the criminal must be someone mentioned in the early part of the story. We're 3 episodes in. We've met the richest of the rich, billionaires, and we've met a guy who wants to be a musician and is forced to take a job as a doorman. Who's the killer? Who killed Lester? Let's solve Only Murders in the Building, Season 5, Episode 3, Rigor. The trio stumbles upon a crucial piece of evidence and promptly compromises it. With time running out, they scramble to solve the mystery before the police close in on them. We break down each episode for clues, suspects, and red herrings on the hunt to learn who killed Lester, who killed Nicky, whose finger is it anyway? Spoilers for the first 4 seasons of Only Murders in the Building, plus these first 3 episodes of Season 5. If you haven't seen all these episodes, pause this video. Ask your doctor if 483763228XYT is right for you. Don't take if you're allergic to gardenias or martinizing, and then come back and watch. Use the timestamp below to jump to the topic or subject that you would like to listen to and skip past things you're not interested in. Let's start off with our C-E-E credit clue Easter eggs. In the opening credits, somebody crosses out the moon with a red marker like they're trying to read what was written behind the moon. In the closing credits, we have the King of Hearts, and I have some great feedback coming up about the King of Hearts. We've got a cleanups, dry cleaners, wire hanger, plus we've got Nicky's Death Alone tattoo. If you're watching this video on YouTube, please, it really helps. Go ahead and give me a like, give me a comment, subscribe. We want you to be with us on the Clue Crew getting justice for Lester. If you're on audio podcasts like Apple Podcasts, Spotify, please subscribe. Reach out to us on social media at PHQ on Twitter, Instagram, Threads, Blue Sky, Facebook.com/PHQ. Our email is hello@doublepmedia.com. Guys, we got to get justice for Lester. Keep those comments coming in. Before we go any further, 3 episodes of Only Murders in the Building dropped immediately, so I've been putting these clue videos out quickly, but I gotta do a bit of clue cleanup right here at the start. In my video on episode 2, I mentioned the thing floating in the fountain as a bird toy. But thanks to a great member of the Clue crew, Lauren Garcia, I learned this isn't a bird toy, it's a bird call. These are the little whistles that you blow and they make like a bird call, a bird whistle. Thanks, Lauren, for that great feedback. Guys, this is why you want to watch the videos on YouTube and also read all the comments. So many great clues and detectives in the comments. If you go to Google and do an image search on bird call, one of the first ones that comes up is this pre-painted bird call, which looks almost identical to the one in the fountain. But note, you can also buy these bird calls that are unpainted and you paint it yourself. Perhaps that's the paint on Nicky the Neck's sleeve. Another clue cleanup I've got to do right now is Howard's handwriting. I've been getting feedback and people are pointing the finger at me. No, not that finger. But they're pointing the finger at me and saying, hey, you didn't mention a possible clue in the first episode of season 5. One of the most popular videos I've ever made was this video on the classic backwards 3 theory for Only Murders in the Building. I don't want to restate the whole theory here. Go watch my video on Season 4, Episode 2 to hear the whole backwards 3 theory. A big part of that theory is Howard's handwriting. In the first episode of Season 5, we got another sample of Howard's handwriting on this note he left for Mabel when he sent her the Arconia security footage. And what do you know? This handwriting looks nothing like the handwriting that we know Howard did during the Arconia board meeting in Season 2. The E's, which we're always looking at, One of the E's does match an E in the end this podcast note, but there's never a backwards 3. So one E matches, but the end this podcast note was written by a left-handed person, like Detective Williams, like Cinda Canning. Howard is right-handed. Now, does this prove that Howard isn't the mastermind? He isn't the Phantom of the Arconia? What is my opinion? Honestly, I don't know what to think. I've been looking at this all this time. I'm thinking, well, wait a minute. Did the show mess up on Howard's handwriting? Is the show messing with us about Howard's handwriting? Does the handwriting not matter? This handwriting has me lost. So I need your help, Clue Crew, to figure out this new piece of information. Should we focus on the E's in Howard's note and how they don't match the E's in his board note meetings? I'm confused. What do you guys think? Go down in the comments, reach out to us social media, tell us about Howard's handwriting, and does this disprove the backwards 3 theory? Before I run down the suspects, let's look at what episode 3 taught us about the victims. First up, Lester the doorman. In Lester's Arconia ledger, there's a page missing and it ended up in Nicky the Neck's mouth. Oh my god. Mabel figures out how we can see what was on that page, and it looks like a lot of information specifically about birds. Look at this one circle where it has 4 different types of birds. The brown-headed cowbird, we've got the bowerbird, etc. In this circle, we also see 5.5 million, 6 million. Down below this, we see the types of birds again, the 4 types of birds. Across from that, we see the words blind and river. Are these poker terms? Are these the billionaires? Who do these birds represent? Nicky the Neck is going to be a tricky one in that we find out a lot of facts about Nicky, but then there's also this thing where Charles dreams Nicky telling him things. Should we trust the information that dead Nicky tells to Charles? I kind of think we should, even though no, this is happening all in Charles's mind. Felt under the fingernails. We figured that out after the first episode. White substance on Nicky's coat sleeve. They believe it's paint. I believe it could be paint from the bird call. There are rope marks on Nicky's wrist. Was he tied up? There is freezer burn near Nicky's ear. Was he tied up and thrown in a refrigerator? Was he killed while in the refrigerator or after? There's a page of the Arconia stationery shoved in his mouth. He has the tattoo Death Alone on his chest. Oliver notes that Nicky is wearing the same outfit as he was wearing in the photo during Oliver's wedding. But note the gardenia has been pinned to the opposite side of his coat from where he normally wore it. Also, Charles notes that gardenia hasn't wilted. Would a gardenia stay fresh in a freezer? There's blood pooled around Nicky's ankles, and Mabel can move Nicky's knee joints and his ankle joint, so they believe he died in the last few hours, or he died so long ago, rigor mortis left his body. Somebody has paid off some crooked cops to find Nicky's body in this dry cleaners in the Arconia. And they're going to frame Nicky's death on the Caputo crime family. We first heard about the Caputo crime family back in Season 4, Episode 9 during the TV news report. Who would be powerful enough to get crooked cops to do this? Well, if you're a billionaire, you could pay him off. Maybe Althea is rich enough where she could pay him off. Could the mayor pay off crooked cops? Why plant Nicky the Neck's body in the Arconia? As for the finger, I still don't think we have more information. It looks like billionaire Jay is missing a finger, but we really don't get a good look at any of the billionaires' hands when they're introduced in this episode. Now let's look at the suspects. Althea shows up with Pavarotti going crazy to get her photograph. Of course, she's not Althea anymore. She's The now. And The is the most searched artist on Wondify. The bought the penthouse. Let's go into speculation corner. I mentioned how Lester looks up when he's running away from that person in the courtyard right before he dies. Is it possible he was looking up at the penthouse? Althea pitches herself to be a guest on the podcast, just like the mayor did. What's going on here? Now, we don't really learn anything new about Lester's wife, Lorraine, Rainey, but we got this feedback from a loyal listener, and I want to talk about it a bit. Meeks wrote, I can't stop thinking about the Suicide King being the key card. Now, the Suicide King is the card that opens up the Velvet Room underneath the Arconia. Now, I'm going to pause the feedback for a bit to say, if you don't know what the Suicide King is, the Suicide King refers to the King of Hearts in the standard 52 card deck. The Suicide King gets its name from the appearance that the king on display is stabbing himself in the head with his own dagger. Now let's go back to Meeks' feedback, where he says one of the posters about opera in Lester's apartment is about an opera where the main character commits suicide. I'll have more on these images behind Lester and Lorraine later in the podcast. Meeks points out an important line that Lester said back in season 4 about his wedding. He said, "Just a man, his wife, and no other witnesses except the fountain." Is that a bit about Lester's death? A man, his wife, and no witnesses except the fountain. New doorman Randall. Randall is under the gun. Uma is complaining to him about the bad noise from the elevator. Randall, who really wants to be a musician, who doesn't even want to be a doorman, he is trying his darndest, and he doesn't feel like he's up to the job. Down in the closet, it's like he's trying to talk himself up. He tells Oliver it's hard to follow a legend. Oliver offers to help Randall with his training. What do you guys think? Is Randall the dreamer? And so many of the show's killers have been dreamers. Any chance Randall did it? These 3 billionaires show up. Again, I don't think we really get a good look at any of their hands. Camila White, who's a hotel magnate with $47 billion of worth, she keeps her hands underneath kind of this flowing white outfit she's wearing. Bash Steed, Bash is short for Sebastian, he's a tech billionaire worth $53 billion. Then we've got Jay Pflug, who's with Pflug Pharmacy, $19 billion. So he's the poorest of them all. Feel sorry for Jay. Jay hides his hand as he enters, but his right hand may be missing a finger. Ooh. If you've listened to a lot of these videos, I've said Uma could kill every character on the show. I wouldn't put her in jail. She's too perfect. Uma has been in the elevator an awful lot. This went back to season 4, episode 10, when she's in the elevator when Sophia exits. Here, she's in the elevator twice. She knows something stinks. Literally. Oliver Putnam. Oliver is freaking out a bit by how kind of demanding and needy he was to Lester. He sent Lester a lot of text messages asking where the shrimp for his wedding was. Will Oliver change his needy ways? We do have to laugh at this joke of Oliver falling asleep while reading Sarah Palin's book Going Rogue. That got a chuckle out of me. Charles imagines another dead person talking to him in Nicky the Neck. And oh my God, Charles is thinking about morality a lot, and he's on some crazy drug that they're testing out. I've joked with people that would season 6 be the podcast trio down to a podcast duo trying to solve somebody's death. Don't do it. Or you could have Charles, die for a minute like Ben Glenroy did. He's revived back to life, and he tries to solve his own murder. What do you guys think? Keep Charles alive. I demand it. Mabel Mora from the West Tower. Mabel doesn't want to be competitive, but when she's alone, she goes back to check out Althea's Insta page. Mabel claims that Althea is no longer her friend. What exactly went down between the two? For this week's tinfoil hat theory. Now, we've already had people mention the posters at Lester's apartment. Now, I am not the opera expert, so I'm going to try to get this right. Behind Lester and Lorraine are 3 images. There's this Tosca, it's an opera. I'll talk about it in a sec. There's a portrait of, I believe, Sarah Siddons, and a Madame Butterfly poster. Now, to boil the story of Madame Butterfly down to the simplest terms, it's about a young Japanese woman who marries an American naval officer for love, but she is later abandoned by him, and she's left to raise their child alone. Was Lorraine left to raise children alone? Now, as far as the other opera image on their wall, Tosca, the opera? To boil this plot down as best I could, Tosca kills a cruel police chief, but her attempts to save her lover fail, and the lover is killed. And then the singer, Tosca, commits suicide by leaping from a castle. The one thing about all 3 of these things is that they're all tragedies, and with Lester's death, that's certainly a tragedy. Can you see a connection between one of these operas and season 5? Go down in the comments. We want to hear from you. Now it's time for your feedback. I got this from a couple of people, but Joy Young wrote, I think Lorraine was the nanny when she met Lester, and the 2 kids could have been 2 of the 5 sons of Nicky the Neck. Creaston wrote, I wonder if the painting of the fountain that keeps popping up in the flashbacks has any significance. You see so many of the characters beside it. Oliver pretending to fall on the floor with the painting behind Lester seems especially significant. Now 117 Derek wrote, I believe there may be two killers, the one who killed Nicky and another who killed Lester. I don't have a guess on who killed Nicky, but I'm going to go out on a limb and say George, the original doorman, killed Lester. George may even be the series-long big bad. Here we go. That's it. In just a couple days, I'll have a new video for Season 5, Episode 4, Dirty Birds. Snooping goes sideways when 3 billionaire suspects catch the trio and invite themselves over for an evening at Oliver's. If you've made it all the way to the end of this video, and write this week's secret phrase, gee, I miss cocaine. Okay, thank you guys. Talk to you after Episode 4.